Good evening, everyone. In preparing for this scripture reading, I needed to look up the definition of the word piety and found the definition as a religious devotion and reverence to God. In the first century, the three main pillars of Jewish piety were the giving of alms, fasting, and prayer. The message Jesus conveys is that the Jewish pious practices are done with hypocrisy and pretentious display that is meant to impress others. Conversely, Jesus points out that these pillars are private acts involving only God and the individual. Here are two passages from the 6th chapter of Matthew. Beware of practicing your piety before others in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So whenever you give alms, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, so that they may be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And whenever you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces so as to show others that they are fasting. Truly, I tell you that they have received their reward. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that you are fasting that may be seen not by others, but by your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Do not store up yourselves treasures on earth, for where moth and rust consume and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
I have a love-hate relationship with social media. On the one hand, it's wonderful for staying in touch with family and friends, especially those that are far away, getting a little window into their lives that I wouldn't ordinarily have. Social media is great for promoting a business or advocating for a cause. It's a way to quickly share important information. And of course, it's the perfect vehicle for funny memes and cat videos. On the other hand, it encourages us to craft a carefully curated life rather than embrace a real life. Hardly anyone I know who posts on social media, myself included, posts about the hard or ugly or messy or vulnerable parts of our lives. Instead, we usually post the carefully composed, happy or humorous moments, creatively hashtagged and Instagram worthy. And as we scroll through everyone's carefully curated life, we begin to think of our own real life as somehow just not good enough. We begin to strive for a perfection that is just not attainable, rather than embracing the good enough real life that we already have. And I think this is kind of what Jesus is admonishing his disciples about as he teaches them about the three primary spiritual disciplines of the Jewish faith: alms, prayer, and fasting. He criticizes those who put their spiritual disciplines out for show, those who brag about their generous donations, those who pray loudly and make sure everyone knows they're fasting. I get the feeling that if Instagram had existed in the first century, these folks would have snapped a photo, captioned it with hashtag fasting so hard, and posted it for all to see. Instead, Jesus urges the people not to worry about the curated spiritual disciplines of the hypocrites, but to give and pray and fast in secret, so that only God knows what they do. Because the whole point of a spiritual discipline is to actually bring us into closer relationship with the divine. This is the true treasure in heaven, or the center of union with God. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Our Lent series, Good Enough, is based on a book of devotions of the same name by Kate Bowler and Jessica Ritchie. Kate Bowler is a seminary professor whose research about the history of the prosperity gospel and the self-help movements in the United States laid the groundwork for her New York Times bestselling books about dealing with the pressure to live your best life now when life throws you curveballs that make constant upward achievement very difficult, like the cancer she has dealt with over the last few years. In the Good Enough book of devotions, she and her writing partner, Jessica Ritchie, offer wonderfully graceful invitations to seek alternatives to the pressure of perfectionism. Throughout the season of Lent, we'll be sharing bits of wisdom and blessing from the book. As we begin Lent, I encourage you to recommit yourselves to a spiritual practice. Perhaps you'll choose to give alms in a special way, giving your time or your talent or treasure as a special devotion during the season. Perhaps you'll choose a new prayer practice or recommit to one that you've let slide. And remember that prayer can take many forms. Perhaps you'll choose to fast. As Kate and Jessica say in their book, a fast is giving up something, anything, to make more room for God. It might be a break from social media, or Netflix, or caffeine, or unkind words, alcohol, holding a grudge. If you're someone who has a complicated relationship with restricting food, skip that for now. Try something else instead. Remember, this isn't about punishing yourself or a thinly veiled version of a diet. If you like, share your intention with a friend or your pastors to reinforce your commitment. But do your fast in secret, just between you and God. Whatever spiritual practice you choose, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. It only has to be good enough. One of the lovely parts of the Good Enough book of devotions is that every chapter includes a blessing. And here is a blessing before a fast. Blessed are you, ready to open yourself to a new joy, a doorway that until now has been hidden. In this culture of acquisition and gain, blessed are you who desire fresh ears to hear what might be a bit too loud. Blessed are you who take the next step to turn it down a notch and make more space for God, who discipline yourself with time, intention, and hope, anticipating God to show up in your discomfort, trusting that when we need God, God promises to be there. God, give us courage, give us strength, give us hunger for you. Let this set time of less be a chance for more of you. Let this fast be an entrance into the discernment we desire, the divine presence we're longing for, and the hope to will what you will, O God, to be who you've called us to be. Amen.